So you've worked with the former Navy SEAL, and he's a social media sensation. Well, he's inspiring millions of people on social media. You were the one who essentially showed Goggins how to stretch. Is that correct?
Yeah, he was part of our seminar at the beginning, and at first he thought it was effing stupid. And I get that. I get that from a lot of people. It's like stretching, and I'm like, you're gonna have to put in some hours. When we say it's gonna take somewhere between 1 and 100 hours, for him, he was quite tight. Mimi, one more demo quick. When she was doing this position, he literally was leaning back instead of leaning front. His knees were straight up in the air, could barely cross his legs. And this is with a lot of people who are tight. Athletes, Navy SEALs, it doesn't matter. That's where he was. We had to push him up against the wall, put his back against the wall so he wouldn't fall back. And so for him, he didn't understand the need for it. So years later, he calls me up and he says, Joe, you saved my life. And I said, well, how's that? And he says, I thought I was going to die. They had me on 17 meds, my thyroid, my adrenal glands, all the stuff. The bottom line is, I said, it's your perseverance. It's you sticking to trying to figure this out. And you did figure it out. We gave you some tools to do it.
See you at the top. That's where I go.
Back, everybody, to another episode of See You at the Top. Today, we have a very special guest. He has helped thousands, yes, thousands of people overcome their injuries and live pain-free lives through this very scientific principle. He's working miracles on a daily basis. He has worked with some of the world's most influential leaders, the Navy SEAL, social media sensation David Goggins, several professional athletes. He goes into the Navy SEAL base for over 10 years now. Please join me in welcoming Joe Hippensteel. Thank you so much for being on the show, Joe.
Thank you, Kirby. Great to be here.
Awesome. So, me and Joe connected a few weeks ago and I started doing his work, and we'll get into that in the interview. But I first just kind of want to start off on where the journey to the top became, started for you.
Yeah, for me, it's the mission that we're on is to help people understand how to take care of themselves, how to increase their health, how to increase their performance. It started for me when I was young and I just had a dream of trying to make an Olympic team in a very difficult sport, the decathlon. I'm a pretty small guy for the decathlon. Most guys are 5 to 8 inches higher than me. I'm 5'8", they're 6'3" in a world-class level. And, for me to throw the shot put against them, high jump against them, pole vault, hurdles, it's like I was like their little brother following them around. And so for me, it was, how am I going to figure out how to get to that level when I don't have the talent to do that? I don't have the genetics to do that. You only have so much speed. You only have so much power. Yes, you can increase it through weights, but I mean, you're lucky if you can increase your 100-meter time by 0.2 of a second in your entire career. For me, I'm one of the very few humans that have improved over a full second in my career because I learned how to train. And that's where I learned some of the secrets I want to talk with you about today.
Absolutely. So where did you grow up at?
From Pennsylvania originally, from a small town. Went to a small college, Division III college in Pennsylvania. And I played football and track there, but I was pretty small, so I was getting beat up. So I gave up football. I decided I wanted to focus on doing the all-around athlete thing in the decathlon and track and field. I told my coach at the small college that I want to really focus on the decathlon. He says, I don't want you wasting your time. I want you to do just the 2 events. I said, I'll see you later. I'm transferring. So I applied to 3 schools in California. The first one accepting me was Fresno State. 2 months later, I was at Fresno State following 7 decathletes around. I was the worst guy. I was following them around. And within 2.5 years, I was the best guy in the team, won the league championships and made All-American Division I. At that point, I could have gone back and beaten the small college team by myself. I thought that was significant. My mom thought it was very significant. She sent an article back to the track coach there just so he would know. I wouldn't have done that, but she did. So.
Mama's always got your back, right? So
you got it.
So now we know a little bit about where you came from. You got into decathlons. As we're recording this, the Olympics is going on right now. Tell us a little bit about how you started experiencing some of those injuries early on.
Yeah, again, it comes down to I'm a small guy, so I wanted to compete against these bigger guys. So I figured if I'm awake, I'm training. So I was training 10 hours a day. Sunday was my day off. I was training 5 hours a day. I did this for years. I lived in a car for several years, so I wouldn't have to pay rent, so I could work less. And by training that kind of intensity with that kind of high goals and living the dream in California mostly, I was really subjecting myself to so much intensity all the time, and I just wasn't recovering. And then your knee hurts, and then your back hurts, and then your shoulder hurts, and then your forearm hurts, and then you get headaches from landing on your head in the pole vault, the wrong way to land. I mean, I had so many injuries. I had over 100 injuries in my career, and I overcame all of them without surgery or injections. I just didn't want to go that route, so I just kept experimenting. I thought if I'd get stronger, I could overcome them. That threw me off balance even more sometimes, so I had to find the balance between flexibility and power and strength. So I just kept experimenting, and interestingly, the discoveries I made have been absolutely life-changing for me and now for thousands of people. But what I discovered was, for example, I'll give you 2 examples. When my shoulder would hurt from throwing the shot put, discus, and javelin and doing pole vault. So I'm doing that all week long, and I'm spending hours and hours. And then I'm weightlifting, I'm doing bench press, I'm doing shoulder press. So much intensity on the joints and the muscles. So as I experimented, I found one day in the weight room, I was in the weight room and I grabbed this cable behind me because it just felt good to kind of put my arm back there on that cable. I put more weight on it, would raise my arm more. I get my arm up past 90 degrees till 120 degrees, and my arm stopped hurting. And it was like, whoa, wait a second. This is like a neutral point. Like things don't hurt anymore. But the doctors told me I had torn rotator cuff, torn labrum, frayed tendons, and other labels that they put on me. And I'm like, but why, if I go to that range of motion, does my shoulder not hurt anymore? And I finally figured out the #1 shoulder injury, because I discovered this with so many people. #1 shoulder injury is not rotator cuff tear. It's not labrum tear. It's bicep tendonitis. Everybody who cannot go to 120 degrees with their arm, which is basically up here, if someone's lifting it, they have bicep tendonitis. So the front of the shoulder hurts. And the medical community says, oh no, you have an impinged nerve. They want to go in and do surgery. They want to cut the tendon. They want to relocate it lower so it's not as tight. They want to shave the bones down so it doesn't impinge. It's a inflamed tendon. It's not the injury that they think it is. It's not an impingement. It's not a tear. And so I was able to fix my shoulder. Then I found another range of motion. When I pull my arm across like this, it would start taking the tension out of the back of my shoulder. So now we've created standards, these neutral points. When I tore my hamstring before one of the Olympic trials, doctor said, oh, you're out. There's nothing you can do. It's torn. So I'm in the weight room trying to make it stronger and stronger and stronger. And it kept feeling worse. But yet at night, it would hurt so much, I couldn't sleep. So I start massaging my hamstring, right? I'm massaging it. I put my knee out. I'm trying to lean forward. When I finally get my nose to my knee, it felt like the pain wasn't there anymore. And I thought, well, this doesn't make sense, because if it's torn, it should still hurt. It would hurt worse if I stretch it. The more I stretched, the less it hurt. I found neutral points. That's when I started creating this whole system of getting rid of all these medical labels that they put on you on the musculoskeletal system.
Absolutely. We'll get into all that. So it sounds to me, and we're going to get into my experience since doing your program for only a week now, it sounds to me like you're the purpose and the main point of your method, it's all around flexibility, getting these muscles loose. Is that correct?
Flexibility to a standard, step by step, in a progression with a lot of different details, 18 different criteria, is how you get to these neutral points. So having a standard, it's unbelievable to me that there's no standard. There's no standard in physical therapy, athletic training, strength conditioning. There's no standard for your body to move. All kids can do all my ranges, but what adults can't do when they start doing reps. I mean, now they're doing reps when they're 10 years old, when they're 12 years old. A pitcher who's 16 years old, he's already throwing his elbow and his shoulder out of whack. They have to get surgery. When they stop playing and they start doing reps in a certain sport, or when they do a certain lifestyle, or they're always texting and they're doing this and they're on computer all the time, they're creating short muscles. If you open your body to our standard, all the medical labels go away, most of them. I'm talking 100 medical labels.
So let's talk about that a little bit. So my experience with working with you is I worked with you for a couple of times, and I felt better than I felt. For the listeners out there, I haven't told too many people this. I've done a few posts on it. I've had a slip disc in my neck now for 2 years. At times, it's been excruciating pain. And I've been doing everything possible, physical therapy, chiropractic, massage, deep tissue, all these different things. And I came to Joe and I worked with him 2 times. And after those 2 times, I felt better than I felt since this injury. And it really is incredible. But one thing I kind of want to touch on, we'll get into a little bit more about my testimony, because, I love what you're doing, and I definitely want to get you on the show when I'm completely pain-free, because I truly am a believer in your work now. You started to kind of talk about all these things happened in your past, all these injuries, which a lot of people look at as one-sided, and they say, this is terrible. But what I'm hearing is you're about my philosophy as well. You've turned all of these experiences that a lot of people would label as just negative, and you've turned them into lemonade. Is that right? You just had all these injuries, but you just kept learning, and then you created this whole system and these modalities around everything that you've learned through these things. So it's kind of, what I love to talk about is everything happens for a reason.
Yeah, for sure. When I was doing my training and I was at my peak and I'm training 10 hours a day, everything hurts. I mean, you just can't keep doing that. And I was doing it for months and months and months. And when my shoulder would hurt, I'd do strength work. I finally found some flexibility that would open that up, and open up my hamstring. Low back issues. I'm doing heavy squats. I'm having bulging discs in my back, having herniated discs in my back, tearing labrum in my hip. So you've had serious injuries that you've overcame. I've had 100 injuries. That's not an exaggeration. I've had hamstring pulls over a 25-year period, probably 14 times. I've had bulging discs on my neck. I've had herniated discs, bulging discs in my low back. I've had quad tightness, muscle pulls, strains, knee issues, torn cartilage in my left knee, my jumping leg, Achilles tendonitis, plantar fasciitis, migraine headaches. Right. You name it, I've had it. But what I found, Kirby, was, and this is the kind of the miracle of this whole thing, is there's neutral points that you can get rid of these medical labels. So if you have arthritis, bursitis, tendonitis, bulging disc, migraine headaches, plantar fasciitis, tennis elbow, restless leg syndrome, all those things are just one thing: tension. Medical world doesn't know this, and we're trying to relay this information, trying to open their minds to getting rid of tension. And the only way you do that is if you have a standard and a plan to get through flexibility. If you can't reach my ranges of motion, you are still in the danger zone. So once we get you to our ranges, these things go away. The medical labels go away.
Let's do some of these demos, and while we're getting everything set up, I'd love to see some of these demos. I know, I know Mrs. UHP is in the house as well. So yes. Let's do some of these demos, and I'll kind of talk a little bit about my first 2 sessions. I've been doing the same stretch routine. How are you?
Great. How are you, Kirby?
This is Mimi Nay. She's my partner. She's been with me for over 20 years. And she knows these routines in and out. She teaches with me at the SEAL base. We have over 5,000 clients in 40 countries now. So we're quite busy trying to keep up with the demand. But yeah, she's going to do some demo here with some of the ranges of motion. I think you'll get a feel for how these work.
First, let me just kind of touch on my experience before we get into these ranges of motion. So I started using your technique. I've had this, and then we'll let her get into it. I've done the same stretch routine for 6-7 years. It's hold the hamstring. It's bend down, touch your toes. It's the same stretch. And I wasn't making any progress. And at KirBeBetter and at UHP, we're all about progression. We're all about getting better. I know Joe, I've been working with him now, and I worked with him because I heard about him through the grapevine, and I was thinking about doing stem cell because I don't put anything unnatural in my body. And I know, Joe, I've heard you talk about that as well. You're all about doing these stretches because you've helped thousands and thousands of people overcome surgeries. And the medical community wants you to get surgeries. And I started doing your stretching, and I was just so bored with the standard of stretching. I was recommended you. The first session, it's so unique. And I stretched for an hour, and it felt like it was 5 minutes because it's such a unique style of stretching that Joe has completely created through overcoming these injuries. So if anybody's listening out there, if you're injured, if you're going through a hard time, I want you to know that it's all part of the process. Just try to find the blessing in it like Joe has done. And he's created this amazing program, which is inspiring hundreds of thousands of people. And I think it's going to get across the globe before we know it. So after that, those 2 sessions, I felt better than ever. And I'm learning more and more about my body. I did have a little minor setback because I'm sure, like me and a lot of these SEALs, I don't quite understand how to listen to my body yet. And I kind of pushed it too hard one day. And, Joe has quickly started working with me again to really get in tune. It's all about getting in tune. And that's what I'm doing more and more. I had that setback, and all of a sudden I started going right back to it, but being more in tune, not as more present. And all of a sudden the pain is going away. And I believe in a few weeks, I'm going to be pain-free for the first time in 2 years, and we'll have to get you back on the show. But yeah, let's get into a quick demo. I'd love for everybody out there to see this beautiful work.
Yeah, for sure. Mimi, would you stand up for a second? I'm going to show you one for the shoulders that I was starting to talk about before. So if you have pain in your shoulder, the first thing we do is we want to check 3 ranges of motion. The 2 main ones are, which I'll demo, you've got to have someone lift your arms, or if you sit in front of the couch or a chair, and you put your arms up behind, your arms should go up to 120 degrees. Now that may look extreme to some people, and to a lot of the medical community, they think that's extreme. That's exactly where your shoulder should go. And until you get to 120 degrees, your shoulder's going to hurt. Okay. If you can't get to 120, right here in the front of your shoulder, you're going to have bicep tendonitis. It's the #1 shoulder injury. Trust me, we've done it with thousands of people. We've had hundreds of people cancel surgeries by just stretching the biceps. The second range of motion, if you pull your arm across and hook it with your other arm, you should be able to grab the back of your neck with your hand. Okay, turn again. So these muscles across the back of the shoulder, part of the rotator cuff muscles, across the shoulder blade, muscles that go all the way up into the neck, and the rhomboids that go to the spine, all this stuff is too tight if you can't reach the back of your neck. If you're doing this one and you're only to here and you can't even reach your face, these muscles are too tight. So people with neck issues, people with shoulder issues, you've got to be able to do this one 120, got to be able to do this one all the way across your chest. Then we get to some of the lower body, and I'll lead this into kind of some of the things that we taught you. Oh, would you have a seat? So the first one
and for all the listeners out there, real quick, because of this neck thing, it's kind of tightened up my shoulder as well over these last few months. Joe told me to do that shoulder stretch. I said, Joe, I haven't moved my arm past this in 3 months. I don't think I can do it. I was quickly able to completely get that hand behind the neck.
Yeah, for you, it's when you have a neck issue like that and you have a bulging disc, you have a pinched nerve, all the muscles around there are going to tighten up to protect you from hurting yourself worse. And for 2 years, you've been accumulating this tension more and more. And the medical world, bless their hearts for doing the best they can. Athletic trainers, chiropractors, acupuncture, all those things, they're doing the best they can. Unfortunately, they don't understand flexibility to our level yet because they haven't learned it from us, and we're the only ones that have a standard. So for you, Kirby, the first thing we want to do with you to check your neck is to see if your spine moves. Okay. So the first position we're going to do is what we call the sit, cross, lean. We don't have fancy names like yoga. All we do is we sit with our legs crossed, we lean forward. Now you see how easily Mimi can touch her head literally to the ground. I'm going to show you where most people are, where they start. Knees up in the air, they just can't put them down, can't get their body to move forward. So as you progress, the knees come down. This is over a period of either days or weeks, depending on your genetics, your age, your injury level, your activity level, your sport that you're in. So we try and very slowly work our way through what we call the building phase. Building range of motion, just like building strength or endurance. A lot of trainers think that, well, if you don't have it, you don't have it. Well, that's just not true. You can build strength, you can build endurance, you can build flexibility. Next range of motion, which is was critical for you, is to start bending the spine and the neck muscles. So if you would lean to your right side, Mimi. So this one's called sit, cross, lean side. You sit, you cross your legs, you lean to the side. If you notice, her head is actually hanging downhill, if you can see that. When we started with you, Kirby, your head was uphill about 20 degrees. Now, watch Mimi's head drop from the 20, go up again. Now watch it drop down. As Kirby improved, he got his head level. Then from there, what he has to do over the next couple of weeks is finish the range of motion. His whole shoulder and neck is going to open up right now. And let's lean to the other side, just a quick one. And you can see downhill here. That's the angle you have to get to for your neck to be free. We've literally had people with migraine headaches, and we've done like 100 cases, close to 100% improvement, close to 100% complete cure for the migraines. We've had people with migraines that have been 20 or 30 years long, sometimes every day. We get rid of it by hitting certain spots, certain muscles in the back of the neck. In the United States, they spend $42 billion on migraine research and migraine recovery treatment. And we've got it down. We've done 100 cases. We've gotten close to 100% response. And all it is tight muscles in the back of the neck. So again, these ranges of motion that we're showing you are just a couple of what we do. There's a whole series of them that are 24 ranges. Every day on my emails, I get or on when I do a search, I get these different stretching routines, and everybody has different opinions. Everybody has opinions. Nobody has a standard. Nobody has a progression. Nobody has rules. Nobody has building phase and the maintenance phase. These are the reasons that our system works. When we first started with you, I put you in that position, lean to the side for me, and you held it for 2 minutes. After 2 minutes, your brain and your muscles are communicating, and they say, look, you either got to give up the tension or we're going to keep guarding. So you started giving it up, Then we rest for a minute in between, then we do it again, then we do it again, then we do it again. So that's why you started to see a little bit of progress the first day. And if I can talk about it, the second day, I was not with you. You stretched, you did a good job for your first 6 repetitions. And I think what you told me was you pushed a little bit too hard on that 7th repetition, and it made the muscle, made the disc react again negatively. Right. So then going in to see some of your medical professionals, getting dry needling, getting your decompression for the neck wasn't the answer. So then when I talked you into doing another session, of course, it's concerning when it feels like it's going off the rails. We go in and do another session, and you did phenomenally well. You took your time, you were patient, you don't go past a 7 out of 10 in pain. And that's what people have to learn is the process. In medical, they do procedures, we do a process.
Awesome. No, and for everybody listening out there, make sure you're checking out the YouTube version as well. So you can really see these techniques. If you're just listening on audio, make sure, if you're driving, of course, don't do it. But after, check out the YouTube version as well at KirBeBetter. So let me ask you a few more questions, Joe.
Sure.
I'm enjoying this interview so much, and I've learned so much from you just in this short matter of time. Tell me a little bit about, kind of what you feel you've learned from the medical community. I just know I've been on this kind of journey of learning, kind of like you were when you were going through all these injuries, and I'm just learning so much, but I really did feel stuck with chiropractic, with physical therapy. They weren't able to get me over that hump. And I feel like after doing, 2 sessions with you, I'm gonna, we'll get you back on in maybe another month or so when I'm completely healed up, because I feel that's where I'm going now. And of course, you wouldn't be having these, miraculous results with the Navy SEALs, with David Goggins and all these other, athletes and just people that are just day to day that are going through these injuries. How do you feel kind of about what the medical community is portraying and how they're constantly trying to, give people ESI injections, steroid injections, and, painkillers and all these other things?
Yeah, I mean, there's a missing link. It's in athletics, it's in the medical community. They don't realize that a migraine headache, most of the time, is tension. Tennis elbow is tension. Plantar fasciitis is tension. Restless leg syndrome, bulging disc, all these things. There's 12 reasons why a muscle will go beyond tight and actually start locking up. We call it muscle lock. When that happens, you now have a medical label, all those things I just mentioned. So what they're missing is, if you learn a system to get rid of tension, you're there. You've reached Mecca. You've found utopia. And it's amazing. I tell people when you go through this program, we want to make you feel like you're 17 again. And they all laugh. I'm serious. They think I'm kidding. 3 weeks later, they call me back. They say, you weren't kidding. I don't hurt anymore. My shoulder doesn't hurt anymore. So when someone comes in, like when you came in, do the sit cross lean again and show what it looks like to be tight. Okay? Sit cross lean just to the front. To the front, yeah. So most people, again, when they start this, they're not going to be able to go past here. They can't bend down enough. They can't get their knees down. But when we do 2 minutes on, 1 minute rest, 2 minutes on, 1 minute, we keep going, we keep going, we keep going. Day after day, you have to start logging some hours in. And it cures tension, but it takes time, not force. You can't force a stretch. You can't hammer your way into a stretch. You can't have someone stretch you into a stretch. You have to allow your body to open. Your brain is telling the muscles what to do. If your muscles say that you're going past a 7 in pain, you're not going to be able to get there. We're the only one that says that. No one has a pain level, a threshold to understand what is a positive pain. There's 5 positive pains out of 12 pains total. 5 of them are positive. If you follow these rules, you're gonna become pain-free. So it's a system that when they finally learn it in the medical community, they're not going to be real happy with me probably, because we're going to be taking a lot of cases away from them. We have people with bone-on-bone knee joints that were headed for double knee replacement. They do these stretches. They have plenty of room in the joint now, and they're not grinding their joints down. Same with the shoulder, same with the neck, same with the low back. So it's a system that works. You got to get rid of tension. That's the enemy.
Absolutely. I love that. One thing I love about you is I was talking to you a little bit about my background with being labeled. I was labeled ADD, ADHD, OCD. The teacher said I couldn't sit still. They put all these labels on me, and I really couldn't focus in school. But when it comes to what I love to do, which is health, growing this KirBeBetter movement to inspire people, bringing the best of the best minds and stretching and health and wellness, like you on the show, to inspire other people, I'm laser focused. I feel like you have this, word that you're kind of using labels in the same philosophical approach as I am, but you're kind of using it and they're putting these labels on us like you have arthritis, you have this, you have that, but really you just have tight muscles, as you said.
Yeah, and I think, first of all, I love your passion. Your passion for creating health and better performance and being better and see you at the top. I love it. It's a mission. And I can see it's a life passion mission for you, not just, okay, here's a podcast, we're talking about health things. You got a passion, man. That's great. I can see the speed of how you talk, how you think, the ambition level you have. That's what ADD and ADHD to me is about. Two things. Number one is chemistry of your body. So if you're eating too much sugar and you're hyper and you don't know where to channel it, okay, it's going to seem like you can't focus. You're all over the place. But when you help someone find what their goals are, what they really want to do, what you want to achieve, and you have this high ambition level, you're going to be in gear. Your mind is making you electrified. Your body is in gear. You want to find and work your way towards these goals. So when you tell me that they said you had ADD, I think it's because you're ambitious. I think you're headed somewhere. Look what you're doing. You're changing people's lives. That's what it's about. And so if people can find what their goals are and go for it, they don't have those labels anymore. They don't have to take drugs to calm themselves down. They can channel their energy. It's all about energy, man. So for us, we're trying to relieve tension so they're not balling it up, sitting at a computer all day, being in athletics and throwing a million pitches. By the time you're 16, you have Tommy John surgery on your elbow. It's a matter of channeling energy the right way, training the right way. When we work with pro athletes, we've had pro athletes that major league teams, multiple teams couldn't fix them. They come to us in 6 weeks, you have them back in the game making millions of dollars. So it's really a matter of understanding how to train. And the same thing with what you're doing. You're teaching people health in all kinds of directions. It's fantastic what you're doing. We love it.
I love what you're doing too. We're just getting started, and I'm looking forward to coming to your seminar, which we'll definitely plug here, when we post this and try to get people out, because what you're doing is so great. So speaking of elite athletes and stuff like that, what is it like working? You told me on the first interview I had with you that you work with the Navy SEALs, and from day one when you went in there, they call you legit. And if a Navy SEAL is calling you legit, those guys don't sugarcoat it. You must be legit. What is it like working with those Navy SEALs? And, just kind of, you've been doing that for over 10 years now. What is it like working with the SEALs, and, kind of maybe talk a little bit about their mindset a little bit?
Yeah, when we first met the SEALs, it was because a friend introduced me, and he used to play NFL football and had a 15-year knee problem. We fixed it in 2 weeks, which he thought was impossible. He's putting off surgery for all those years. And he introduced me to the SEALs because he went to Annapolis, went to the Naval Academy. So we go down and meet them, and first thing we do was we drop into a position to show them what we do. Would you want to do a quad stretch? Can you do it? So this one, both of us dropped down on the floor. We had a captain and a commander in the room, and they looked at us. They saw us do this. They're like, "Oh my God, don't move. How do you do that?" They ran out in the hallway. They grabbed 14 guys in uniform. They come into the room. They're all watching us in this position. And so we connected with them right away, like, whoa, there's something to learn here. So I said to them, let me show you what I do, because I didn't realize I was going to take all of your time. I felt guilty, all these, big time guys. So I said, let me work on one of you. Who has a shoulder problem here? They all raised their hand. I'm like, oh my God, 14 guys with a shoulder problem. So I picked the guy in front of me. I work on him. I said, I can probably fix your shoulder in an hour. He says, no way. I didn't know he was the head of physical therapy. He was the head doctor there. Of all the guys in the room, I had to pick him. And he says, no way you're going to fix it. I have a torn labrum all the way around. I said, yeah, but your ranges of motion are telling me you're almost there, but you're not out of danger yet. So I lifted his arms up to 90 degrees. 1 hour later, the next day, we actually worked, and he hit 120. His shoulder stopped hurting. He wrote a letter. He says, these guys are legit. So all of a sudden, we had a line standing in line there, and we put on a seminar, 25 guys, 3 hours stretching 3 days in a row. At the end of the seminar, 22 out of 25 guys said, oh my God, this is life-changing. This is legit. We got to tell everybody, we got to work on this. The 3 guys that weren't impressed were the doctors in the back of the room, sat there with their arms crossed saying, well, they're not impressed. I didn't use enough medical terms. All we did was we got results. And so working with these guys, I was told there's going to be a lot of egos. I didn't find that at all. These guys want to learn. They're the best of the best. And they're groomed to be, I mean, their mission is to go save the world. And they give us what we have. And we're always eternally grateful. So it's great to work with them.
So have you noticed that a lot of the SEALs that they, you know, because a method with your work is don't push back past that 7. You know, I feel like maybe in another life I might have been a Navy SEAL. You know, I'm glad I didn't, but I truly am very grateful for what those guys do to defend our country. They are the baddest men on the planet.
Yes.
But my question is just, you know, what is it? How do you get those? You know, what is like their mindset? Is their mindset that they just have, you know, they just push themselves too far? Or they, you know, I love how you said that they're very adaptable and they're willing to learn, because that's what personal growth takes. You can't think you know everything, because at the end of the day, I don't think there is any limits.
Yeah, I mean, what I found with them was similar to what I went through when I was training 10 hours a day. These guys train a lot, so many hours, and they push them so hard, and they just have to go through pain. So when I got there, 3 things that I noticed. Number 1, they're not doing enough flexibility work. In their 16-page program that was on the internet of how they start training Navy SEALs, young Navy SEALs, there's 16 pages, 1 paragraph on flexibility. That's a problem to me. Second thing is they overtrain, they overuse their muscles, they don't have recovery, they don't do flexibility, they don't release tension. Number 3, they're not integrating their training program properly, meaning that they're doing things wrong. Like they'll do squats one day, they'll do cleans the next day, they'll do box jumps the next day. You can't just keep training the same muscle day after day. You have to do aerobic work, do your drills, do your technique work, do your conditioning work. At the end of the day or the end of the second day, third day, then you do your heavy weightlifting, anaerobic work, but you got to take a day off after that. So integrating the program properly, you can't do things like do squats and then go out for a run. You can't do that. And so many athletes are doing that because they can't get in the weight room in their colleges because the football team's there. So the tennis players are doing weights in the morning, then they go play tennis. When you're in the weight room, you're not gaining strength. What you're doing is you're breaking muscle down. When you break it down, you have to have recover time. You can't break it down, start to recover, break it down, you're headed towards injury. You break it down, you recover. Break it down, recover. You're headed towards improvement all the time. So it's a matter of teaching them some of the nuances of training, making sure they're having recovery, making sure they're doing in the right order, integrating the program properly, and presto, we're getting results. And we've had over 400 guys cancel or avoid surgeries. So we're really happy about that, just to get them to not go under the knife.
And you know, that's, you know, I had a knee surgery, and that's when my journey into this health started about 6 years ago. I always was healthy, but I'd play college tennis and then I'd go off my diet and get super unhealthy, wouldn't, you know, so the more I got aligned, I had that knee surgery and I said, man, health truly is the greatest wealth. I couldn't get off the couch. I was stuck on the couch after that knee surgery, and I had one of those light bulb moments. And I said, if somebody offered me $1 million or the ability to go for a run 10 out of 10 times, I'm going for that run. That money cannot buy you happiness. That money cannot buy you longevity. You can have all the money in the world. You could be a billionaire, but if you can't get out of bed, if you're not flexible and you're stiff, how are you going to enjoy it? So that's when I really started my journey as well into this health space. I'd
like to comment on that, because when you told me you were a tennis player, I'm looking for things that created this neck problem for you. I'm going to show you one more range of motion we do with the upper body. Mimi, would you stand up and face that way? And let's raise your arms up straight up. So hopefully you can see this. Right now, her elbow is even with her ear. If she was lying on her back, if I take this arm and I pull it back, it goes back past her ear. You didn't have that range of motion in the subscapularis and some of the shoulder blade muscles in the pecs. And so to be able to do that when you're doing tennis and you're doing all the overhead serving, you're making this tight year after year after year. You probably did 1 million serves in your years of tennis. And then eventually it's the feather that broke the camel's back. You can have 1 million feathers on the camel, but when you put that last one on, it just breaks. And that's when your muscles tightened up, started squeezing the disc. You have a balloon between two fists like a disc, and you just keep pressing it, something's going to bulge. When you take the pressure off it by stretching to the left, to the right, to the front, to the back, you gain more space in there.
And it makes so much sense what you're saying about, you know, solve the muscles, because the muscles are what everything is attached to. I don't understand, you know, the body like you and flexibility. Of course, I want to learn more and more about it. But, you know, what happens when you get into one of these major car accidents? Are there situations where the disc can just slip through dramatic? But But okay, that is true. So, but you're saying the majority of time it's muscle. Let's solve the muscle first.
Yeah, and here's the thing. We say that there's 12 reasons why a muscle will lock, meaning that when it goes beyond tight, let's say this is part of your muscles that are expanding and contracting. When a muscle goes beyond tight and it locks up where it doesn't open anymore, and you have hundreds of these sarcomeres, contractile units in the muscle. If your 10-inch muscle is only 8 inches long now, you got a problem. Your joints are going to hurt. Your muscle's going to hurt. You have trigger points. You have tender points. When you get in, one of the reasons that causes muscle lock, lack of flexibility if you don't do it, overuse if you don't do it. Number 3 is impact injury. So if you have a whiplash and you're jolted and your head jolts, your muscles are going to grab and hold your head in place as fast as an airbag deploys in a car. Really important to understand. So if you go to the doctor and they take an x-ray and they don't see a slip disc, they don't see a bulging disc, they don't see pinched nerves, it's because the muscles around the neck are still tight. They're still locked. But the medical world doesn't know what that is, so they don't know what to do for it. So eventually it gets worse, and then they give you an injection. They tell you have stenosis and narrowing of the nerve channels, et cetera, et cetera. Bottom line is, if we get, like for you, when you were doing your sit, cross, lean to the side, leaning to the side, your head was uphill. And you worked it, now it's level. It starts to feel better, less tension. So even if you have a bulging disc, which you do have, an impinged nerve, if we create more space around that balloon, your discs aren't squashed. Yours got squashed from all this tension on the right side, all the tennis movements that you're doing, all the serving. So when those things lock up, they're not going to loosen until you do what we teach. You're not going to do it through yoga. You're not going to do it through stretching in general. You have to have a standard. Your head has to be downhill, like Mimi was just showing you. And so for you to reach that level, that's the whole key is reaching our standards.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. You were the one who essentially showed Goggins how to stretch. Is that correct?
Yeah, he was part of our seminar at the beginning. And at first he thought it was effing stupid. And I get that. I get that from a lot of people. It's like stretching. And I'm like, you're going to have to put in some hours. When we say it's going to take somewhere between 1 and 100 hours, for him, he was quite tight. Mimi, one more demo quick. When she was doing this position, he literally was leaning back instead of leaning front. His knees were straight up in the air, could barely cross his legs. And this is with a lot of people who are tight, athletes, Navy SEALs, it doesn't matter. That's where he was. We had to push him up against the wall, put his back against the wall so he wouldn't fall back. And so for him, he didn't understand the need for it. So years later, he calls me up and he says, Joe, you saved my life. And I said, well, how's that? And he says, I thought I was going to die. They had me on 17 meds, my thyroid, my adrenal glands, all the stuff. The bottom line is, I said, it's your perseverance. It's you sticking to trying to figure this out. And you did figure it out. We gave you some tools to do it with. So really for him to follow through, and I know he does a lot of stretching now. Haven't talked to him for quite a while. He's a very successful guy, inspiring millions of people. I love the guy. He's doing so much good for so many people. Stretching is one of the foundations of what he does in order to be able to keep going. So
that's amazing, Joe. And you know what? I'm sticking to the program without a doubt. You know I had that little flare up and quickly I worked right through it. Normally this flare up would have, because I've been going through this for 2 years, it would have lasted probably 3 weeks. I'm almost through it already. So I'm sticking to the program for sure. And, thank you so much for sharing that about Goggins. I actually did hear that in his book. He mentioned you in his book and said that, he was literally, he thought he was going to die because he had this, issue with the back of his neck, and he started stretching. And I used to hear because Goggins is somebody who inspires me as well. And my business partner, I used to think this guy is out of his mind because he says he's missed stretching. He has not missed a day of stretching in like years. He has missed 2 days in like 5 years or something crazy. And he does 2 hours a day. And me and my business partner are like, how is that possible to stretch 2 hours? But the typical way of stretching is very difficult. But your way of stretching, it's so much fun. It's a form of meditation. It goes by like that. And I'm doing it every day now. So I truly see where he was coming from with that now.
The important point there is people have to know you don't have to stretch for 2 hours a day for the rest of your life. Now, because he does so much training, he does a lot of extra stretching, but you have to get through the building phase to get to the maintenance phase. It's like if you want to run a 7-minute mile, you got to log some miles. And it may take you months or years to get there. Once you do, you can maintain. It doesn't take as much time. Same with stretching. If you go through our program, you go through our process, build the flexibility. You get to a certain point. With Mimi, she's on the maintenance phase. Her arms go right up to 120. She goes right down, puts her head on the ground on the sit, cross, lean. When you can achieve those levels, 1 rep per day, 20 minutes a day, and you're 17 forever. That's the goal. That's where you're going to be. I can't wait.
I can't wait too. And, I'm going to join you at your seminar here in November, and I'll give you another testimonial there when I'm 100% pain free. I'm right around the corner. So
Awesome.
getting to the end of the interview here. It's been a great interview. What is your morning routine? We have a lot of entrepreneurs listening to this podcast. Our focus is really health, fitness, personal development, bringing on the greatest minds in those spaces, which you clearly are. The morning routine is so critical. How you start your day is very important. How you start your day, win the morning, win the day. What does your morning routine look like?
Yeah, I mean, most of the mornings when I get up, I'm going to meditate so that I can calm my metabolism down. Sometimes you wake up and you're hyper and you have all these things to do. Calm down, be under control. I'm going to start doing some stretching as I'm making phone calls to clients. Because we have clients over in Europe, we have to make some of those calls in the morning because it's 8 hours later there. And later in the day, I'm going to be calling people in Australia and Hong Kong because of the time difference. So, I'm trying to time my calls and my Zoom sessions. With COVID going on, we've done a lot of Zoom sessions, probably 1,000 of them in the past year and a half. And so we're always helping people, taking them through step by step, each range of motion, et cetera, et cetera. I'm stretching for usually 2 to 3 hours in the morning because I've lost some of my ranges of motion because I was so tight from working on the SEALs. Even though I was stretching 2 hours a day, it wasn't enough because I was really using a lot of effort to work on some of these guys, helping them stretch, doing trigger point, doing some really in-depth stuff, with the muscles, going deep into their muscles. So I got myself tightened up, got to a point where I couldn't stretch my way out of it 2 hours a day anymore. I wasn't willing to back off my work, so I had to add more hours. That's what I'm doing now, is catching up. So I have my sore spots too, just like everybody else. I'm working my way through them, and there's nothing but utopia ahead of me because I know how to get there. I know how to get it back.
That's amazing, Joe. And it sounds like you've really been dedicating, your heart and your soul to helping others out. You deserve a vacation. Everybody, Joe deserves a vacation, man. And I know you're about to take one right around the corner and prep up for this seminar coming up. So you definitely deserve that time for yourself. And, I know all of us are grateful for all the help you're doing for everybody out there. Last couple of questions. Do you think that everybody is an entrepreneur, or do you think that only a select amount of breed are entrepreneurs?
Everybody has entrepreneurial spirit. It's whether they tap into it or not. It's whether they have the confidence to go for it or not. Everybody can do it. Everybody has dreams, but they're subdued because maybe they were told they couldn't reach it. I take negativity as, oh yeah, well, I'm going to show you. You do the same. The people that are successful, they don't listen to negativity. They go for it. They have a goal. They build the dream. Once you have the dream, you got to turn that into a daily routine. They have to become goals. You have to have step-by-step goals to ultimately reach that ultimate, utopia, whatever their goal is, whatever their plan is. But it's a matter of believing in yourself. You got to live life from the inside out.
Amen to that, Joe. That really was beautiful, man. I'm getting chills on my body right now from that. And I 100% agree with you. I wasn't an entrepreneur. I was, somebody who was labeled heavily as a kid, and they told me I couldn't do a lot of things. And I just, because I was raised by an incredible father from Brooklyn, New York, he gave me, he believed in me before I believed in myself. And he told me you can do whatever you set your mind to, Kirby. So because of that, I told myself I didn't ever want to work for anybody else. And I believe that everybody out there has greatness inside of us. We all have the ultimate human potential. We all can get to the top of our goals. And it's just about pursuing the dream and taking some chances and just really getting aligned with who you are and what your values are, and trying to do what you love more, as opposed to, working for others and doing what they love. Do what you love. Don't listen to these projections. Stop listening to these doctors when they tell you to get a surgery, when they tell you got arthritis. Figure things out on your own and go within yourself. And, that was very beautifully said, Joe. So the very last question that we like to ask all our guests here is, and this has been an absolutely incredible interview, one of my favorites, if not my favorite interview I've had on the podcast so far, because we are just getting started with this, is, so see you at the top, ultimate human potential. What is it?
Performance.
Ultimate human performance. What does it mean? To me, see you at the top, it means become the best version of yourself day in and day out. Keep going. We don't know what level we can perform at, but we can keep pushing ourselves to new heights, to new limits day in and day out. And I don't know if we're ever going to be able to reach that top, but all we can do is try to improve ourselves day in and day out to get there. So with that being said, Joe, what would you say it takes to get to the top?
It takes perseverance. It takes vision. The reason I do meditation is to visualize my goals, to always have that projection out there, living in the future, working your way towards that goal, creating a plan to get there. Everybody has the potential to get to the top, wherever that top is for them. And it's different for everybody, but you're giving me chills now. I love what you're saying. Your passion comes through, and you got to have that passion. You got to develop that in your dream, grow it, keep growing, get to the ultimate performance you can do. Everybody can do it. So keep moving, keep developing that vision, and then keep persevering. And you can only end up at the top.
Amen to that. That was absolutely amazing. And I love how you say, let's keep moving. In one of my interviews I had with you, you just said, hey, when I'm, doing these Zoom calls with you, and you're going through the motions with me and you're coaching me, you're constantly stretching, you're moving. You're not, you're not in a sedentary position. And something I like to say is, let's move, keep moving. The body is meant to move. And that's something that, you touched on as well.
And that's my cue.
So Joe, we'll wrap up the interview with this. This has been an incredible interview. Definitely check out Joe's stuff. Where can everybody find you at, Joe?
Our website is ultimatehumanperformance.com. Our social media is Ultimate Human Performance by Joe.
And definitely check this guy out, guys. I promise you won't regret it. Check out his website. Sign up for his seminar coming up in November. I will be there. You can book a consultation with him to learn these movements, to get over these pain. He's helped thousands of people become pain-free. You can find him on social media. You can take his online courses as well. So, Joe, this has been an absolute pleasure. One of my favorite interviews yet. You guys know what's up. There are no limits. There is no top. Ultimate Human Performance. See you at the top.
You're awesome. See you at the top.
Woohoo!
That was
Thank
awesome.
you, Kirby.
Thank you.
See you at the top. That's where I go.